We're continuing, still really in the beginning of the Shari Teshuva. We gave an introduction yesterday. We got into the first couple lines. Let's reread from the beginning very quickly. Amongst the many kindnesses which Hashem bestowed upon His creations, the greatest one is Ki heichin lahem haderech. He prepared for them a way, a pathway, la'alos mitoch pachas masehem, to ascend from the cheapness of their activities, v'lanus mipach pishehem, and to run away from the traps of their wrongdoing. And therefore we said, the way we understand the statement now is that there's a gift of Teshuva that was given to a person, that he should be able to rise up to a higher level and a standard of living, number one, and also being able to run away from the traps of your wrongdoings, to get out of the corner that one has placed oneself in through the results of his activities. Okay, and therefore, really, a person develops a handle of freedom and control in his life that he may not have had. Okay, but now we continue. And the Rabbi Yonah explains more of what this gift is about. So we'll read a few more words. He continues and says, Lachsoch nafshom minei shachas ulahashiv me'aleihem apo. Lachsoch is to save their souls, minei shachas, from situations of destruction. Ulahashiv me'aleihem apo, and to turn away from them His anger, Hashem's anger from them. Okay, so this is another 2 points that he's telling us over here, which is part of the gift of Teshuva. So there's 2 more things that are accompanied with Teshuva, and that number 1 is that one saves one's own life from all the destruction that is created from one's actions, number 1, which we'll explain. And number 2, he removes Hashem's anger from the person. These are all things that are existing in the pre-Teshuva state, and the result of one's Averis. That's what we have. So let's explain both of these ideas over here. So number 1, what do we mean when we say that the process of Teshuva prevents the person from being destroyed? So let's make a point over here. A person being destroyed through wrongdoing, what does this really mean? Doesn't mean the following: that I do something wrong, and I could go either way. I could either go on existing or not, and Hashem will choose to bounce me out of the picture because I double-crossed Him, and Hashem can destroy me. So that may be true, but that's not really what we're talking about over here. We're not talking about an external punishment over here. We're talking about the inherent punishment that lies in the wrongdoing itself. Meaning to say that the process of Teshuva, when Rabbi Yonah says it's lachsoch nafsham, is to prevent one's own nefesh from falling into destruction of one's own deeds, one's own self-destruction. And one of the concepts of punishment in Yiddishkeit, which differs from the outside world, is that what the person suffers is really only the end result of what he's done to himself. It's the self-destruction that comes from the person. Within the action that's done by the person, the lifestyle that the person has chosen for himself, that itself is a condition of punishment. And as you see in the people that live a more freer lifestyle, you see that they're unearthing the lives of the whose lives are glorious and glitters. You find that they're self-destructive people. So and that really is inherent in anyone who does averos. There's self-destruction. So the Teshuva that Hashem is giving us a path towards can prevent the soul of man from hurting and destroying oneself through one's own actions, which is again a tremendous kindness on Hashem's part, that although the action was done, I don't have to suffer from it because I have returned and realized my mistake. So it almost would seem to be a paradox. For example, if a person drinks a bottle of poison and then he does tshuva, it's not going to prevent the person from getting a terrible stomach ache that night, right? Or the doctor says, you're lactose intolerant. Do not eat chocolate bars, and especially at night. And you go and eat 10 chocolate bars, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning you have a gut-wrenching feeling. You call up the doctor and say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. I'll never do it again. Okay, can you make the pain go away, please? He said, sorry, I can't do anything about that. Right? Can't go away till he's going to take the whole night, till all that chocolate gets thrown out of your system. Right? So that's how things should be. So you do activities that destroy yourself. You should now suffer the result of that destruction. So the chesed, the kindness of tshuva, is that even though the punishment for wrongdoing is part and parcel of the action itself, you should be self-destroying. So tshuva has the spiritual ability of preventing the harm of the actions that the person does from hurting himself. And that's lachsoch nafsho minei shachas, to prevent the nefesh of the person from hurting from its own destruction. So that's the third point that Rabbeinu Yonah mentioned. And again, the next point is ulahashiv me'alem apo, and to turn away from them his anger, which also needs explanation. So is this something else? Punishment is one thing and the wrath of Hashem another. So really, as we know, the ultimate purpose of creation was that Hashem wanted to give of his goodness to man. So what happens when a person does those things which are wrong in Hashem's eyes? So other than the mechanical idea that you've double-crossed Hashem, and Hashem's angry, and he won't give you what you want, which is the traditional child school understanding of this, which is true. But the deeper and most important point is that the greatest disappointment on Hashem's part is that because of the actions that the person has done with his averos, Hashem cannot give you all of the good that he wanted to give you in life. As we know, as we've said many times, you want to give a person a beautiful gift. You want to give someone whatever you want to give them, a beautiful gift. You want to give your 16-year-old a brand new car, right? Because you love them and you want them to be able to get to school easily enough or whatever. And it's as those of you who have teenagers readily understand, the pressures of allowing them to drive cars, right? And it's always, I always find it so ironic, how the kids are wondering, like, why wouldn't you want to give them the car? Why can't they have the car? They think like you're lending them a dollar, or you're lending them a comb. It's like you're lending them a car. And what's worse is like you've been with them while they've been doing their training to drive, and you see how terrible they are. They really, many of them. I don't know. I hard to relate. I remember when I was 16, they put my hands on the wheel and I started driving, and it was no problem. I had a license in 2 weeks, and I was driving in 2 weeks, and it's like, Mom, it's no problem. But I don't know. We didn't have all those handheld games, so I could concentrate on the big picture. Maybe I don't know what it is, but but not like you drive with some of your kids and like you're really scared to death. It's like, and somehow that they pass the driving test after you've spent thousands of dollars on lessons on them, right? And then they want to take the car, and then you're going, oh my God! And then when they get in the first accident, that's at least $5,000 you got to pay because you're going to have the insurance cover it. That's all you've avoided and everything. So they want, you want to give them the car. You do. So what do you have a kid who's like really, really bad? And let's say like really bad. Let's say they have a drinking problem. And they will drive when they drink, right? So clearly as much as you love that child, and let's say you're very wealthy and it's not a problem to give him a car, but you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it because you know that the worst thing you could do for them is to give them the car. That is the worst thing you could do, and it's going to hurt them. So Hashem, who let's say wants to do this for you. He wants to give you certain goodnesses in life, but Hashem can't, because He knows the minute He gives you this gift, you will do worse with this gift that He gives you. Person has uncontrollable desires, and if Hashem, lets him continue to make all the millions of dollars that he's making, or not even the millions, so a person will just feed his taivus and put himself into a bigger pit. So the point is, Hashem really wants to give, and Hashem is disappointed that the person is not prepared to receive. So, and that's so important, when coming to Rosh Hashanah, because Hashem, is going to decide what kind of year to give us. And the decision on God's part, He really doesn't have a lot of say in the matter, because He can't do more than what you deserve. You're the one who has the biggest say of what you're going to get on Rosh Hashanah. And if you have the type of behavior that warrants God's blessings, God is more than happy to give you the blessings in life. But He sees that these blessings are not going to be of help to you, and if anything, they could be harmful to you. So Hashem says, I don't have an answer. You're not giving me any place for me to bestow the blessing upon you. So that when we say that the process of tshuva dispels God's anger with us, we're talking specifically about Hashem's disappointment in not being able to give to us. So until the point of tshuva, the condition of a person's life is such that God can't give you everything that He wants to give you. And Hashem's deepest desire is disappointed because He can't give it in the type of condition that you're in this state of sin. So because if God just constantly gives, and I constantly use it for the wrong things, what's the purpose of that? It's counterproductive. So Hashem has to disappointingly hold back on certain blessings, and as the expression goes, it hurts Hashem more that He has to hold it back from you than the fact that He could give it to you. So what comes out, the main point is that the process of tshuva does the following. The person now is saying, after he's done the tshuva, he's saying to Hashem that I'm going to prepare myself to be ready for the blessings once again. Because now that I've corrected these issues, now that I've gotten off the bottle and I don't drink anymore, and I've been sober for the last year, and I'm really careful in what I do, the Father would say, here's the keys to the car. Here's the keys to the car. And you deserve it. So with tshuva, Hashem's anger at me is expressed by the notion that Hashem is saying, straighten out so that I can give you the blessings that I want to give you. And by tshuva, that straightening out is happening. And now Hashem isn't angry at me anymore. He's not disappointed with me, because He now knows that I will use the gifts that He gives me for the blessings that they're meant to be. Okay, so those are all part of the gifts of tshuva. Let's continue. V'limdam, and He taught them. V'hishiram, and He warned them. Lashuv elov, to return to Him. This is another kindness on Hashem's part. Not only did He give us the potential to do tshuva, and He gave us the path to do tshuva, but He also taught us how to do tshuva. And He warned us to do tshuva. So why is this a gift? Obviously, what good is it if a person has a tremendous treasure buried under the floor of his home, and he doesn't even know it's there? So that's what Rabbeinu Yonah is saying over here. Hashem didn't say, you did something wrong, now find your way out. That's not what Hashem said. He taught us the way out. We have a way out. He says, this is the way out. I'll show you the way out. I'm begging you, I'm imploring you to use the way out that I'm showing you. So He's even giving you the way to come back to Him. So that's another kindness. Kiyechatulo, that even if a person would sin to Hashem, l'rov tuvo v'yashro, because of his abundant goodness and straightness, he has taught us the way of doing tshuva. Ki hu yoda yitzram, because he knows the yetzer hara of people. He knows the nature of man. He understands this struggle. So again, what's the rov tuvo v'yoshro? It's because of God's abundance of goodness and abundance of yosher, straightness. What does this mean? So again, there's 2 points over here that he's saying. For 2 reasons, God explains to us what our potential of tshuva is. Why is it so necessary and only right that Hashem should teach us the concept of tshuva? So he's saying because of his goodness. Number 1, he wants to give of his goodness. Because he's good, he wants to give good. He's not going to want to watch you be in that state of aver that he can't bestow the goodness on you. And because of his straightness, what does the straightness mean? Because Hashem knows that the human being is always in a situation of conflict and struggle. Why? Because God created the conflict and struggle. He created it. So, and God, and what does God want most out of the person? It's not that a person should always be a perfect 10. You know, like in the Olympics, when they grade your, performances, they put up the cards, right? So he's not expecting a perfect 10 all the time, but rather that a person should understand what the challenges are in life, and even if he makes a mistake, the challenge is to recognize what the mistakes are and to correct this. And this is the straightness of Hashem, because Hashem knows He created the conflict in you. Hashem created you with the temper that you have. He gave you that temper. Hashem gave you that laziness. He gave you, you didn't wake up and say, I've decided I'm going to be an angry person. I went to the store and there were mitos that Hashem was giving out. I said, would you like, being a little bit more forbearing, or would you like to be a hot-tempered person? I'm going to go for the hot-tempered one. I'm going to always want to yell at people. I don't think anybody picks that. Hashem puts within your nature to have that, puts you into a family, God forbid, of abusive parents, which now, distorts the healthy way a person should look at life. Hashem put you in a family of not religious people. Whatever it is, Hashem put you in the situation. Hashem sets you up every day with unbelievable tests. You're working on your temper. So, so now you've worked on your temper and you can control yourself on a level 1 crisis. So then what does Hashem say? So good, I'll bump it up to level 2 crisis and watch you fall again. And then you work on developing the self-control for level 2 crisis. Hashem gives level 3 crisis. And on and on and on. So Hashem has created the challenges for you. Hashem has set the stumbling blocks in front of you. So it's only fair and only right. Is it fair that Hashem gives you a temper and doesn't give you a way out of the temper? That'd be such a maddening situation. What kind of God are you? You gave me this. 1 second. So this is the straightness of Hashem. So if God knows that He's set you up and has made you that way, it's a straightforward approach to teach us and implore us to do tshuva, as that becomes the essence of what life is all about. Life is, He has set you up to fall. And that's all there is to it. And as King Solomon said, there is nobody in this world who will not do averos. He set you up to fall. Doesn't mean to say use that as an excuse. Okay, Hashem, you made me fall, so that's where I'm going to be. Hashem said, no, I made you in a way to fall, and I've given you the way to get out of the fall, and that you can grow from this. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov says when he explains the pasuk in Tehillim, which says, Ki imcha haslicha, because with you, Hashem, there is forgiveness. And the next 2 words are, L'ma'an tivarei, therefore I am scared. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Because there is forgiveness with Hashem, therefore I should be afraid? Adarabah. That should be the exact opposite. Since Hashem forgives me, why should I be afraid? Why should I be afraid? Oh, thank God. He'll forgive me. So what do I have to be afraid of? And that's one of the Yetzer Hara's biggest tricks. He says, Hashem will forgive you anyway, so just do it. Just do it anyway, because he'll forgive you. So why are you afraid? The answer is, if there would be no forgiveness, then there would be no challenge in life. There would be no challenge in life. Nobody can be perfect. You're going to make your mistakes, and that's the end of it. And it's you resign yourself. I'm going to be destroyed, and I'm finished. It's just you resign yourself. Forget it. I did Avera. I'm doomed. I'm finished. Goodbye. There's no hope. But the way it is that after we make the mistakes, there's always the possibility of learning from your mistakes and growing from your mistakes. And Hashem is teaching you this is the way to get out of it. So that's what David HaMelech says. That's what I'm scared of. That I won't use the opportunity of growing from the mistakes. Since there is the possibility of Teshuva, there is the possibility of forgiveness. So now if I don't do the things that get the forgiveness, that's what I have to be worried about. Hashem is giving me a way out. And then Hashem's going to say, so what's Hashem going to really criticize you for? At the end of the day, what's Hashem going to criticize you for doing the Aveira? He's not going to criticize you for doing the Aveira. He's going to say, did you do Teshuva? And the guy says, no. Hashem says, why not? Did you not know about Teshuva? Yeah, I knew about it. Did you not know how to get out of this mess? I knew how to get out of this mess. So why didn't you get out of the mess? As we'll see in the next, in Sif Beis, it gives a good marshal for this. So that's a big problem. Right? When did Hashem throw Adam and Chava out of Gan Eden? After they ate from the tree of knowledge? No. He didn't throw them out after they ate from the tree of knowledge. Hashem said to Adam, where are you? What happened? Did you eat from the tree of knowledge? And he's waiting for Adam to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done it, please forgive me. And if he would have said that, I should have said, okay, I forgive you. You could stay in Gan Eden. But when he says, it was my wife's fault. Look, you gave me this woman. Because you gave me this woman, she made me eat from it. So Hashem says, you don't even want to do Teshuva. Out. That was the problem. That was the problem. You have to always remember, don't be so afraid of your Averis. That's not what to be afraid of. You have to be afraid that you're not doing the Teshuva. Right? That's why, traditionally, in the olden days, El was a very serious month. Because El was the 1 month before Rosh Hashanah, and everyone knew this is the month to do Teshuva. This is the month to do Teshuva. And if I don't do Teshuva, Hashem's going to be really upset with me because now you had the chance to do it and you didn't do it. Okay, so we'll talk more about this in the next section. But that's what he means over here that's the straightforwardness of Hashem, and that's why a person is scared. So this is what your share of Hashem means. God is straightforward. He knows that a life is full of mistakes, and because of that, it's straightforward to put into the human being the potential to correct the mistakes. And it's not like, you do a mistake and boom, God throws you out. No, God's not egotistical. That's not the way it is. Hashem knows what the struggles are, and Hashem expects us to build from those mistakes rather than not make the mistakes again. And Hashem knows that the process of learning comes from a certain degree of making mistakes. So He's straightforward in giving us the truth. Sam, you had a question?
Yes. I was under the impression that Hashem created the world as perfect. It's a perfect world. That's what we know. Hashem created a perfect world. There's nothing imperfect about this world that is not man-made rather than Hashem. Hashem made it perfect. How come when it came to the human beings, He created the possibility of us sinning? What's the purpose for that? To grow? Okay, you grow from sin, but why not make you perfect in the first place so you don't have to sin? Why was it necessary to do that?
Okay, so you have to understand, what does a perfect world mean? It doesn't say Hashem made a perfect world. It said He made a very good world.
That says perfect.
Well, no, he created the most ideal situation in this world, and the most ideal situation is to deal with challenges. And how do you deal with challenges? By creating people with faults, with challenges. that we have a free will choice to overcome those challenges and to grow in the process. Again, if Hashem made us without a Yetzer, let's go back. Why did Hashem put human beings in this world? Why didn't Hashem leave us as neshamas up in Shemayim? You have a neshama up in Shemayim, you mamish, you're under the kisei hakavod, you mamish enjoying Hashem, you're so close to Hashem, everything's so wonderful. Why does Hashem bounce the neshama out of this world, put it into human body, and give it all the trials and tribulations of this world? Why does Hashem do that? The answer is, as Luzzatto says throughout his works, he says, is in order to create a situation of free will choice that man should earn and gain his perfection. And when a person has earned and gained his perfection, he becomes A, more godlike, and B, becomes more deserving of the blessings that Hashem gives him, and doesn't receive a free handout from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the most perfect situation is to enable the person to grow into the more perfect being that he can become and be deserving of Hashem's blessings. Now how does that happen? By laying traps along the way, Yetzer Haras along the way, where the person has a free will choice to choose to do good or to choose to be bad, and to develop into the better human being, the more perfect human being, through his own activity and work. And that gives man the greatest satisfaction. And that's the most perfect situation. Just giving people handouts is not the most perfect situation.
So in Shemayim, the souls are not perfect? We're starting perfect?
The souls in Shemayim are perfect. The human being, which has a combination of body and soul, has all the potentials for making a lot of mistakes. And that's why Hashem made it that way. Your neshama doesn't want to get angry, but your body does. So now you have a neshama and a body together, and you have to follow what Hashem says to learn how to be that good person.
I still feel
the neshama is totally perfect,
right?
But the human being, with a combination of a neshama and a body, has the potential to make many mistakes and is not totally perfect.
So the body is imperfect.
The body is finite and is liable to fall, to create problems because of the way the body has been made. Now Hashem gave you a neshama and He gave you a seichel to rule over the body. You know, like the old horse and rider analogy. A wild stallion, right, needs to be broken in. Now, what would you say about a wild stallion? He's perfect or not?
For his purpose, he's perfect. He doesn't want to be broken in.
Yeah, but what's the purpose of a horse in this world?
That's how he was created.
No, why did God create horses?
Some of them run around wild and nobody...
That's not what He created them for. He created horses for people to ride on them to get from one place to the next.
To win races?
No, not to win races. So that I can get from Thornhill to Toronto. So that the horse is able to transport the body of a tzaddik to get from one place to the other. That's what He created horses for. That's what He created horses for.
Yeah, but if that was the case, then we wouldn't have horses anymore. We don't use it for that.
Oh, there's still needs for it. Whatever Hashem's need for horses are. You know, you have them on farms, whatever its purpose is. You know, even if it's to give man the pleasure to ride on a horse. I'm told by people it's a very wonderful experience. The equestrian experience is a very exhilarating and happy experience. Hashem, you know, and Hashem created horses to keep the non-Jews happy to watch horse races.
Right?
You know, whatever. You know,
all the cars.
But that the horse has a purpose. You know, a horse has a purpose. So now you have the horse. So we got to break the horse in. Just running wild for the sake of running wild, you know, it's not what Hashem really created them for. So now you've got to take the horse, which has unbelievable talent, and take it and harness it in a beautiful way. You know, when they're, you know, for thousands of years, you know, they pull wagons, pull people in it, very productive locomotion beings. And it's a very productive thing. But if we don't straighten it out, it can't do what it's capable of doing. The human being, the physical body, is a wild stallion. So now the neshama has to break it in, and then you'll have a beautiful person. And if not, you can have all kinds of problems. And that's Hashem made it that way. So in the process of developing, you'll make mistakes, and Hashem understands that. And they said it's fine, it's okay. Hashem's okay with the mistakes. It's not a problem. Just fix them up and learn from the mistakes and grow from the mistakes and become the person that you can be. Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is, you'll get into this afterwards or whatever, but I don't really understand then why we have this concept of kares and olam haba then, because it makes it like it's so simple of a situation. Just do your teshuva, don't worry about your averas, and you're going to have your great chelik in the olam haba, and you won't have to worry about kares for certain sins that many Jews are unfortunately doing.
So your question is, what's the question?
Like
why? Why
do we even have those concepts of worrying about olam haba or worrying about a kares?
Why do we have these concepts? So you're basically saying, why do we have a principle in Yiddishkeit of reward and punishment? Isn't that what you're...
Reward and punishment.
Because it's necessary. So what happens if the person doesn't do tshuva? So now we have to go to the next default position. There's default positions, right? So Hashem says, okay, so you have a choice to go to the right, go to the left. Do what's right, do what's wrong. Okay, you do what's wrong. So now what happens? Now remember, Hashem wants you to be on the right side. He wants you to be good. He wants you to be the perfect person that you can, or the more perfect person you can be. That's what he wants. How's that going to happen? Through making mistakes. It's fine. So you make a mistake. So now what do you got to do to get yourself back? Do tshuva, right? What if you don't do tshuva? Now what happens? Now what happens? So now, and you keep on not doing tshuva. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. So now Hashem's got to do something, right? So then there's different things He can do to you, as we'll see in a minute. So He could decide to really give you a walloping punishment. And then all of a sudden you're going to stop and think and say, whoa, okay, now I got to do tshuva. Now I got to come back. Okay, what if after a walloping punishment you still don't do tshuva? So now Hashem has to go to the next position. Right? So, there are points in time where the person, makes certain free will choices where he bounces himself out of the picture. And now Hashem has to take that neshama and send it to somebody else. That neshama has to have a good address. At the end of the day, that neshama has to have a good address. So the person has to realize that there is certain stages that are necessary in order to get that neshama back where it belongs. And if it's kares, etc. Now olam haba is all different. Gehenim, all these things are steps, are all parts of the process of somehow getting the overall neshama and whatever else body back in line. And if that didn't exist, then it wouldn't get corrected. You need to have it. Yeah?
Just to tack on to what Ron was saying, asking, but there's plenty of averos if you don't have a chance to do tshuva. Like there was a Beit HaMikdash and somebody warned you not to do this and you did it, you're done.
What do you mean?
You eat matzah and hey, you eat chametz.
For every avera, yes you can. Who said? So even if there's kares, you do tshuva and the kares goes
okay,
up.
So this week's parasha, all of these immorality issues. If you're warned and you do it, you're pelted with stones.
Now you say a person gets killed. No, so there the point is, okay, don't ask from kares, you're asking from...
Both, either one.
Not kares, you can always do tshuva on kares. Kares, be spiritually cut off. To be spiritually cut off, right? That you can always do tshuva on a kares. Always do tshuva on it. You ate chametz on Pesach, okay? You sit down, you go through the 20 steps of tshuva, and guess what? Next Pesach, you don't eat chametz, the kares is gone.
Okay.
So now, what you're asking is, what about capital punishment? That's really the only question that I could hear as a question. Okay, the guy's killed. So the answer is, again, if the person, remember, for the person to get a capital punishment, first of all, we know is extremely rare. You have to really be a bad fellow for this to happen. Because as we know, it's not just stam, you do the Aveira. Let's say Chil Shabbos. Chil Shabbos, you get killed for that. Right? So now how does that happen? The guy decides to get in his car to go to work on Shabbos. So now there have to be 2 witnesses. If there aren't 2 witnesses, he ain't getting stoned, number 1. 2 witnesses have to warn him and say, do you realize what you're doing? Do you realize that you're transgressing the Shabbos? The guy has to say, yes, I know I'm transgressing Shabbos. Do you understand that Hashem told us we're not allowed to transgress the Shabbos? He says, I understand that. And still you're doing it even though Hashem tells you not to transgress the Shabbos. And the person says, yes, I'm still doing it. All those conditions have to be met. Right? So that guy is so blatantly bad. Right? And remember, this only existed when we had a Beis HaMikdash and a Sanhedrin. Where you went to the Beis HaMikdash and you saw the miracles that Hashem did. We're not talking about a secular Jew today who wasn't raised to know that Hashem exists. No Jew today would get stoned for driving a car on Shabbos. That wouldn't be fair because he doesn't understand what's so bad about it. The concept only exists when a Jew, he went to the Beis HaMikdash and he saw the miracles, the 10 miracles that happened. There's a God. And God told you not to work on Shabbos. And you go to work on Shabbos. And they warned you, and you had the moment to realize this is exactly what you're doing. You're not supposed to. And he said, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway. So a person has gone so far. So now what happened is that person's teshuva, that person has gone so far to the edge that for him conventional teshuva is not an option anymore. For a person to be that bad, that's pretty bad. No? Wouldn't you say that's pretty bad? It's not like, a person's excited and you do something out of emotion and, the witness saying, listen, I want you to realize what you're doing. You are going to get stoned if you do this. Do you realize that? They have to all say the punishment that goes with this is stoning. Okay, do you want this to happen? The person says, I want that to happen. So that person is really very far away. So all the conventional nice steps of tshuva, that person already has gone so far that this isn't going to work. So now how are we going to save him? The only answer is he needs to be killed through a bezdin. But it's not just they kill him, because they don't kill him until he does tshuva. Until he does tshuva. It's the bezdin's job to get him to do tshuva. Before he dies, so that at least something has been saved from him. Something has been saved from him. That other than, and it's the biggest kindness, because if we just let him go on, he won't do any tshuva, and Hashem will have to deal with him in the next world, which is much worse. See, even the capital punishment is and the death is part of the atonement process, as we will see. That's all part of that process. It's not one that we're happy to administer, but the guy hasn't left us much choice. But that too is part of the tshuva process. So we have our choices. Which part of the tshuva process do you want to have, and how many steps are necessary? We'll see. We'll see that there's more than tshuva necessary. There's also other things that have to happen under certain types of averos that we'll talk about as well. But there's no such thing as the person, and really, that was really, I think, a good thing, because nowadays, unfortunately, all the people who are doing all these averos and realize, it's not going to be handled in this world. And it's going to have to be, there'll be tshuva in the next world. Oh, it's a lot more painful to do tshuva in the next one. But you ultimately got to do tshuva. So Hashem is giving us the way, and we have to take advantage. So the smart person will take the easier ways. All right, let's continue. Okay, good questions. So again, now how does Rabbi Yonah know that Hashem does this because He's kind and straightforward? Shenemar, it's a pasuk. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Tov v'yosher Hashem. It says this right out. Hashem is good and Hashem is straight. Al Kain, therefore, Yorach Hatoyim Badorach. Hashem taught the sinners the way. So it's almost as if Hashem has the obligation to show us the path of tshuva, If he gave us the arena of struggle, he has to give us the path of tshuva, because he's fair. That's the only fair thing to do. Now, v'im hirbu lishoa v'limro, if the person continues to purposely sin and to rebel, ubeged bogdim bagadu, and he's become a traitor. I mean, literally the words mean like clothing of rebellion he has rebelled with. But he continues to be in his rebellious way. Even that, lo sogor ba'adom dal se tshuva, Hashem has not closed from them the gates of tshuva. No matter how, that's the case of the guy, exactly what we described. Don't you realize you're going to get, I don't care, I don't give a blank about God, I hate him, like this and that. Your mamish rebel. Still Hashem hasn't closed the gates of tshuva. You know, it's so important to realize this, certainly in Bein Adam L'Chaver that we have in our interpersonal relations with people, because we know everything we know about Hashem, we're obliged to model God's behavior. Everything we're saying about Hashem, you know, it teaches us the way of tshuva. You know, so can you imagine if you had a friend who double crosses you and does this and does that and all these things, so you're obliged to show them the way. You're obliged to help them do tshuva. It's the same thing. You have to do the same just like what Hashem does for us. So what's the rebellion over here? The real rebellion is you're using all the gifts that Hashem gave you. The gift of life, the gift of you do an Avera and you speak Lashon Hara. It means you're taking the gift of the mouth that Hashem gave you with all the gifts that they are, and you took Hashem's gift and you used it against him. That's what a traitor is. You're using the gift I gave you to go against me. And still in all, you can imagine, let's say a lame person. A king has rachmanas on a lame person. Oh, I feel so bad for you. So you know what? Here, come on my shoulders, and you'll be able to move around, right? So the king puts him on the shoulders, right? And the king's walking by his precious, expensive trees in the garden, and the lame person has an axe in his hand, and as the king's walking by, he chops the tree down. And as the king is walking by, his most trusted advisor, the guy on top has a gun in his hand and he shoots the trusted advisor. You think the king will be mad with the guy? Because I picked you up. I took you around to chop down the tree, to kill my advisor. So Hashem says, you couldn't talk if I wouldn't put words in your mouth. And I put words in your mouth, and you went and spoke Lashon Hara about one of my kids. That's not a rebellion. We don't realize, but that's what he's saying. Right? So even for such a person, Hashem has not closed the gates of tshuva. Let's just finish the paragraph. Shenemers, it says, Shuvu lasher hemiku sara. Return, O people who have gone away into the depths of all kinds of evil. V'nemar, and the pasuk also says, Shuvu banim shovavim. Return, O rebellious sons. Erpa mishuvo sechem. I will heal you from your backsliding. The fact and when a person is a shovav, so Rashi over there says it's a lashon mered v'gaiva, an expression of rebellion and arrogance. And Rabbeinu Yonah explains that they rebelled against Hashem. They did the sin many times, but still the pasuk says, Shuvu banim, return, O children of Hashem. Because Hashem still considers you a child of Hashem. Now why this is able to work, we'll discuss this tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Okay.